Welcome to my channel, Fab It All, where I bring you different personal projects that I'm working on, as well as the occasional industrial fabrication from work. I hope you enjoy what I bring you, and I hope it's entertaining, and maybe you'll learn something. I really enjoy doing this, and I hope I can learn to be better at bringing these videos, making them more entertaining and show more things. As I learned through all the steps of not just doing the work itself is one thing, but then learning how to do the filming and all that is kind of a fun challenge. So I hope you really enjoy this, and I really want you to be entertained, at the least entertained, and if you learn something, that's great. So today we're continuing on the go-kart build. We're moving on to the steering box for the go-kart, and that entails the body. And this is the aluminum part of the go-kart. That entails the body, the top and bottom plates, the shafts, the ears, all that. And there will be some pieces of stainless steel that mount the steering box to the go-kart itself, and we'll get into those too. So I want to start off, and let's get this thing built. So I'm over here at the mill. What you just saw, I just cut out the slug of material for the body. Started with 3.5 OD round stock, 6061. I put a hole in it. Eventually it's going to have a 2 3/4 bore in it. I wanted to keep it as solid as possible, so when I put it in the vise, we don't distort it. But I needed to take a little bit out, so when I part it, it is my parting tool. I didn't want to risk breaking off my parting tool because it's not that long. So I just put I think it's 1 1/4 hole. And also I wanted 2 parallel surfaces to each other, so the top and bottom plates can bolt on there nice and flat. And I shouldn't have to do any other cleanup. I might just sand this down a little bit, take some of the roughness out, and then so now I just need to put the holes in it to receive the top and bottom plates, and they get drilled and tapped. I want to just drill all the way straight down through and then tap. I'll drill all the way straight down through, and then I'll go and I'll just hand tap from both sides, because my tap isn't as long as 1.5 inches. So let's get this going. I just screwed up. Just drilled the wrong size hole. I used the wrong drill bit. I used the 3/16 drill bit, and I'm supposed to use a number 29 drill bit to drill and tap. So I've turned the hub about 22.5 degrees, and then I'll redo them all. It's not a big deal. You won't see it in the end, but we'll know they're there. And it'll probably drive me crazy. Maybe not enough that I'll redo it, but it'll drive me crazy. Okay, let's try again. Not with that drill bit. Oh. That was bad. Probably going to regret this. Okay, so the body has been drilled in a very precarious situation with an 832. We got those 2 extra holes that are no extra cost. And we're over here at the lathe. Need to bore a 2.9 inch clearance hole, so it's not a critical hole. Plus or minus 5, 10. Right through the center. I got about 3 thousandths to take off. Oh, I got 1 thousandths to take off the length, which I'm just going to do just a skim cut just to make it clean. And then we're ready for the face plates, and we can do the OD machining on it. And this piece will be done. Other than so as I come up to the sides, I'm going to slow down the depth of cut. I'll keep the feed rate the same, but slow down the depth of cut. So, because as the wall becomes thinner, it becomes more susceptible to flex, and it could come out of the jaws. I was running 75 thou depth of cut. I'm going to slim that down to maybe 50 or 25. But first I'm going to check it. So that piece is done now, this body. We got 2.9 ID, still the rough outside surface. So it's done until we get the face plates, top and bottom plates done. And then we can bolt those on, put it back in the lathe, and machine the OD. And then the body will be almost complete. The machining will be done on it. Okay, so I'm set up here at the mill. I've got the top and bottom plates for the steering box set up together. I need to do all the holes together, mostly the half-inch holes for the shafts because they need to pass through, so it needs to be perfectly aligned. And the outer holes too, because that's how it's held on. I thought about machining a recess to accept into the body of the steering box, but I don't have my small lathe. My small lathe's broke down right now, so I didn't want to, on my bigger lathe it's harder to grab that. And it's not that critical, so there's a lot of bolts to hold it and whatnot. So it's just easier to do this way. So let's drill the half-inch holes and then the 3/16 holes around the outside. Okay, so there's the rough assembly of the steering box. Fit really nice. So I will Loctite these bushings in, and then I'm probably going to Loctite these in and then machine the face down, because then I can get these, because these are 1/2 inch. I need, or 3/8. They need to be 5/16. So let's do that. I think I'll do that first, actually. Oh, actually I need to get 2 more of these. That's right. Alright. That's nice. That is really nice. Change of plans. I'm still going to Loctite these in, but instead of Loctiting them and then machining them on the lathe to length, I'm gonna Loctite them in. I'm gonna put them in the mill and use a counter bore just to get them flat. So I'm worried that if I put it in the lathe and I'm not exactly in there perfect, when I come in here, because I can only do inside the bolts here. When I come in here to make that cut, if I'm not centered perfectly, I'll get a little bit of a gouge on one side, which I'll have to deal with. But if I use an end or a counter bore, and there is a little bit of issue, it's not so large a diameter that if it does scuff, I can finish it by hand, which will be easier to take care of. So I'll still Loctite those in, but let me get the OD machining done on this, and then I can do the bushings later after that. So there's the finished body. Next to put on there are the ears that mount it to the supports, and of course we're talking about the bushings, and then it's ready for final assembly. We still need to do the pins, or the shafts, excuse me, the shafts, and the shafts just get cut to length and get a groove for a snap ring, or snap ring? Yeah, an external snap ring. So let's get the shafts done. That'll be next. So that'll be lathe work. So I'm over here at the IMC pin tumbler. We're going to get these pins made for that steering box. So it's pretty simple. We got our piece of shaft. We take our drawing that has all of our dimensions of what we want. Put it in there. Set the unit, put the shaft in where it goes. Make sure we get it held right. Okay. Put some oil on it. what it is. Oh, that looks good. Oh, look at that. We got our pins to length. Let me get calipers. So we got some, yep, 5.105. Look at that, it even put the grooves in there for the snap rings. That's quite the machine. Should get you one. IMC pin tumbler. Two things that get welded on this part of the project. Here's the shaft, output shaft with the tie rod plate as a holder, as a holding fixture. And this just gets welded, just 4 spots to hold it secure. Then that way I can just take these bolts out and change this plate if I ever have a problem with the turning ratio. So, and then this aluminum, the body gets the brackets. So let's do this first. Okay, so I got all the pieces to this. Got the ears welded on. This little plate for the tie rod plate welded on, or stop, I guess. Fantastic aluminum welding, let me tell you. Look at that. And it's always the last weld. There's the first weld. Isn't that just excellent? Man. And then, of course, the last weld turns out just beautiful. So, yeah. can do your welding for you. I suck at aluminum welding. Okay, so let's put this together. So I need to, I don't have the gears engaged, but I need to, I gotta do that. When I Loctited the bushings in, when I welded it, it got so hot it all leaked out, so it's got this black brown goo all over it. So I gotta take it apart, clean it up, do some setting of the gears and get them to mesh just right. I measured when I put this together. I measured. I think the plates they're about 15 thousandths too wide from what I need. So I originally was going to take it out of the body, but now that I look at it, I have a great idea. I talked about how I didn't want to put it in the lathe and to face these off, but now I ended up having to do that because it was a disaster with the. I'll put some clips up there of it. When I tried to do that, the counterboard just caught the brass and it broke it free from the Loctite. So I had to abandon that and I went into the lathe and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. It put this little recess up there. But now that I see that contrast, I think I'm going to do that. Since I have about 15 thousandths to play with, and I might probably go about 20. I'm gonna machine an inside and leave about a 1/4 inch or so around that perimeter, so you get kind of almost a flange effect. I think that'll look pretty neat. Give it a little bit more contrast. It's very steampunk, and it's got bolts and different colors and whatnot. So I'll just finish that up. That should be an hour or two more worth of work. But that's the steering column, the steering box. So the tie rod's attached to this, and then I'll have once I get the seat set up there, I'll know exactly where I'm going. I'll put a universal joint right here, and then I can change angle and go up to the seat. But actually, I wrote it goes down here. So then when you turn, it turns your things. Is it complicated? Oh yes, it's complicated, but it's fun. It's unique and it's fun. So that's the over necessary steering box for a go-kart. I appreciate you watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll try and post more. I have been trying to work on the side rails and some of the welding. I got a bunch of that done, or about half of it done. I wanted to break off and finish this. This was kind of a fun part of the project. Hopefully I can improve my aluminum welding skills during this project. One thing I want to show, there's two types of mistakes. There's design mistakes, and then there's your regular mistakes you do when you're doing something. And this is a design mistake. Great looking plate, counterbores, holes, great. But as I talked about in when I showed the design, this is what happens when you mess up a design. I realized when I talked about I can't have 2 gears, you have to have 3, because if I turn this one and turn this one, then my steering's backwards. I gotta have 3. I gotta bring it back to a clockwise direction. So that's what happened. I had already made these, and that's what happens when you screw up a design. You screw up all the way down the line. So I ended up having to make some more of those, which is fine, because then I didn't record that, so I got to record these new plates. And I think they turned out a little bit nicer too. Yeah, be bringing some more videos up. Like I said, the side rails, those are looking really good, and I have some ideas for the bumper, on the back bumper. I wanted to make it a little more flair, because I call it the Happy Monster. I want to do something exciting, something neat for that back end. That'll probably be one of the last things. Yeah, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll keep posting some videos. Thanks.